Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams have agreed to a new contract that will keep the Super Bowl winning quarterback in Los Angeles. And it's been a wild last couple of weeks for Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Rumors of being in Montana and skiing with Tom Brady and the Raiders recruiting him. And I was hearing yesterday that, one, if he was going to be traded, it was going to be 100% the Las Vegas Raiders. And two, that it was going to come down to a meeting that they had today. Today, the Rams met with Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, Les Snead, Stafford, all met with his agent, Jimmy Sexton. And at the end of the day, Matthew Stafford took less money to be back with the Rams. He could have gotten paid more, $55 million per season with the Raiders or the Giants, but those situations are unknowns. The Raiders, yes, you have $100 million in cap space. Yes, you're playing indoors. Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Tom Brady, all that sounds nice. Have some top-end talent. The Raiders have been irrelevant for a long, long time. The Giants, you don't want to enter a rebuild with the Giants. So I think it was a smart move by Matthew Stafford. If his number one priority was competing for another Super Bowl title, the Rams were the best situation for him. And I think if you are the Rams, yes, it is a little bit of a risk in the sense that you're bringing back a 37-year-old quarterback and you're going to pay him over $50 million per year. Sure. But at the end of the day, the chances of finding another quarterback and putting him around this group with a lot of young talent and expecting to compete for a Super Bowl this season are unlikely. Aaron Rodgers at 41 is not as good of a quarterback as Matthew Stafford at 37. Aaron Rodgers comes with a baggage, the darkness retreats, the complaints, the issues in the locker room, and just the skill set too. I mean, he just isn't the same quarterback that he was. So I think if you're the Rams, this was absolutely 100% the right move. And if you are Matthew Stafford, you just went through the process and now you know how it was. Now you know how it is to be with this organization. You went out there, you guys had a little, you didn't get a divorce, but you were like separated a little bit. And she was like, you can see some other people, and then he went to see those other people and he realized like, man, I kind of miss her. Right? I kind of miss her, right? And that's what he did. He came back to the Rams and they figured some things out. And yeah, I think this is 100% the right move for both parties. What do you think, J-Rob?
Yeah, easily. You're not going to find a quarterback to replace him that's better than him. Shout out to Sam Darnold. I love him to death. Had the opportunity to interview him. Great guy. He's not a better quarterback at this juncture than Matthew Stafford, and neither is Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. So for everybody involved, if Sean McVay's plan is for them to still continue to win now, because again, play away from an NFC championship, you re-sign your quarterback and you put an offensive line around him. Because to be honest, Doug, they're going to be better next year than they are this year because that young defense that, to me, is going to be top 5 in the NFL. I'm calling it right now. That defense is going to be a top 5 defense next year in the NFL, one of the best young offensive line the league has to offer. And then obviously on the offensive end, I'm still calling Devontae Adams. I know this package deal thing with Aaron Rodgers, but why couldn't you see Devontae Adams match with Puka Nacua here? You get that whole situation sorted out. The Rams are cooking with Crisco, as we say in the hood. So I feel like if I'm ultimately the Rams, this was the right decision for Matthew Stafford. This was the right decision. And I think everybody's happy, just a little bit of marriage counseling. That's all you need. A little bit of marriage counseling. There it is.
Yeah, absolutely. All. You know how it is. I think with Matthew Stafford too, he puts the Rams in a good position where you don't have to find that next quarterback now. You can go about it a little bit more organically. You don't have to force yourself into a situation. And yes, look, trust me, J-Rob, I know all about it, man. Interviewer's bias. When I started interviewing players, he talked to me for 2 seconds. I'd defend that guy to the death. You've seen that meme where it's the long phone and it's like, which athlete will you defend like that? That was me to every player I interviewed. So I understand you with Sam Darnold, but at the end of the day, Sam Darnold wouldn't give the Rams a better chance of winning than Matthew Stafford. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't. Jimmy Garoppolo certainly 100% wouldn't, right? Justin Fields, right coach, right situation. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, same.
I'm intrigued.
Same.
I think you might get stretches where you feel good about it, but this is Matthew Stafford, a future Hall of Famer we're talking about. And I think too, look, I mean, it puts them in a good spot where they could draft a quarterback in the later rounds, but they don't need him to come in right away. He can develop. And then, yeah, you're probably not going to be in a position to get Arch Manning in 2026, but you are going to be able to have a couple of years with Stafford. And you mentioned that defense. That is the number one thing for me. This is the number one reason why I think the Rams were wise to bring him back. Because if that defense was cooked, they didn't hit on those draft picks, I would say, look, man, having just one great player on a bad team is not going to do you anything. Might as well just get the assets for him. But what the Rams can do is the reverse of what's been the logic, the prevailing wisdom in the National Football League for the last decade. And that is that if you draft your rookie quarterback and you hit on him, that means you can spend that money on players around them. You can get the premier edge, the premier corner, the premier wide receiver, maybe spend on a running back. The Rams, they don't have to do that. You spend on the quarterback because you hit on Jared Verse. You hit on Kobe Turner. And you found Puka Nacua wasn't just their 5th round pick. He was their 4th pick in the 5th round. Yeah. Makes no sense, man.
You hit on Braden Fisk.
Braden Fisk.
I mean, what's my the DB? I think it was Curly. I can't think of his last name right
Yeah, Kobe Durant.
Yeah, Kobe Durant.
Yeah, Kobe Durant out of South Carolina. He's continuing to work.
Oh, my God.
That's a great point in that it's not just rookie talent. It's like their second, third year guys.
They're so young.
And look, here's the thing. What it's going to come down to for the Rams is this. Can you hit on free agency? Because you whipped on free agency last offseason. Jonah Jackson, they gave him $51 million. They've allowed him to seek a trade. Colby Parkinson, he was awful. So the funny thing about the Rams right now is they're hitting on the draft, but they're absolutely whiffing in free agency. But that's what's going to come down to.